So of course, then I went into the science of that, where I understood there are certain nutrients that the body needs to adequately produce these neurotransmitters. And to very broadly talk about it, this is what kind of, this was the logic I used, where I said that, hey, a supplement, essentially there's a supplement for your bones, where, I mean, you supplement with calcium, mostly for your bones, you supplement with protein for your muscle health. There's a bunch of supplements for different health functions, but there's nothing for the brain in the Indian market.
Yeah.
So that was a market gap that I identified at the time.
Hey, welcome to another episode, a new episode of Voice It with Karishma. Today we have two very young, very sweet, and very, very dynamic boys with us. We have Sarva, Mukhi, and we have Virdi with us. They both are from, they both are co-founders of a brand known as Food for Thought. They're going to elaborate very, very soon about what the brand is about. And we're going to be asking them a ton of questions to understand their process, what really got them to create a brand like this, how did they think of creating, nutraceuticals or supplements for the brain power. So welcome, both of you guys. It's lovely to have you both on this platform, and I am absolutely looking forward to talking more about you both, about your brand, and understanding your entire journey.
Thank you so much. Likewise, we're so excited to be here, and thank you again for the generous introduction.
Yes, thank you, Karishma. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So firstly, I want to know why Food for Thought, and why did you guys, what is the journey like? Tell me. I mean, you can take turns and answer the question, but tell me what the journey was like, what the vision was like when you thought of creating a brand called Food for Thought, and the whole idea behind creating brain power supplements.
Right. I think I'll take this one.
Yes.
This is honestly a thought that came to me initially, and it's something that I then pitched to Sarva, and he went from being a non-believer to being a believer when he actually tried it. So to give you a bit of a background on how it started, there's a practical reason and there's a very personal reason. So to talk about the practical reason, I've been working as a freelancer in marketing. I used to work as a freelancer in marketing around 3-4 years ago. At that time, I was working with a number of supplement brands, so nutrition companies, which gave me exposure to this field, where I understood how everything works from supply chain to distribution. So this was kind of the domain specific knowledge that I got at the time that enabled me to think in this direction, that, this could be a viable path for me to take, perhaps with a co-founder. So that's the practical reason, but there's a personal, more passionate reason as well. So both Sarva and I have had weight loss transformations. We grew up, fat kids who really didn't understand the importance of food, the importance of nutrition, the importance of exercise, and everything that comes in this whole spectrum. So of course, when you go through a transformation, you understand calories, then you understand macronutrients. Then of course, when you look at it more holistically, you understand micronutrients even. So that it really brings about this whole love and kind of, I think, attraction to this concept as a whole. And both of us kind of really went deep into it. So I would research a lot. And simultaneously, I also felt very strongly about how brain chemistry works, and how, essentially your neurotransmitters are dictating how you feel at any particular time and how you really perform in your life. Because the mind and the brain is everything, right? And this led me to do a lot of a deep dive research into brain chemistry as well, and into understanding how nutrition is linked to, the production of important neurotransmitters such as dopamine, serotonin. Just to maybe talk about them, like dopamine, of course, helps you be more motivated in life. In layman terms, serotonin helps you be more in a balanced mood and kind of happy in life. So of course, then I went into the science of that, where I understood there are certain nutrients that the body needs to adequately produce these neurotransmitters. And to very broadly talk about it, this is what kind of, this was the logic I used, where I said that, hey, a supplement, essentially there's a supplement for your bones, where, I mean, you supplement with calcium, mostly for your bones, you supplement with protein for your muscle health. There's a bunch of supplements for different health functions, but there's nothing for the brain in the Indian market.
Yeah.
So that was a market gap that I identified at the time. And I pitched it to Sarva. we did a bit of research together. We started sampling things. We became guinea pigs and started trying different types of ingredients. And of course, then over the course of time, even Sarva saw the results where he saw that his ADD was kind of, getting a bit of like it was improving over time now to the point where he's really not feeling it anymore. So that made him believe as well. And yeah, that's how we kind of started this journey. And then of course, once you get into something, there's no looking back. Like it just one thing leads to another, and it's difficult to remember the details of how the process went.
Yes, thank you, Jay. That was very insightful. Thank you. You mentioned two things. So before I ask Sarva about my second question, I want to highlight on both the things that you said, and I think it's so important to be able to talk about that. You mentioned the gap that you noticed between nobody doing anything to facilitate or support the mind and
Right.
the function of it, right?
Right.
The study of the mind, like after I finished all my education on my nutritional aspects, on the food aspects, Ayurveda, all the jazz, right? So once I did finish my education on that, my next big subject and project was the mind, because it is so versatile and there are so many different dimensions to it. And now with the increase of mental health disorders, the increase of how so many people are facing regular trauma, the study of the mind and what can support it and what are the kind of actions and what are the kind of extra things that it needs is something
Right.
which is very big forte for me. I'm absolutely intrigued and study about it every single day. So I feel like when you guys came in and spoke about the fact that you've tapped into this market gap, I feel like it's a good way to go ahead, because you're right, there is a big gap. And I feel like with the years coming ahead, if more and more people start realizing the power, the importance of supporting your mental health, supporting your brain, supporting your mind, if they understand this, overall holistic wellness is going to have such a big U-turn for everyone, because the stresses in life are not going to go less. The competition in life is not going to reduce. In fact, if anything else, is just going to keep increasing with the advent of technology and every single thing that's happening today. So I feel like, both you young guys are like coming in and talking about this. I feel like firstly, congratulations on that. It's a great space to be able to explore. I want to ask Sarva about, your ADD. Can you tell us a little bit about, what the syndrome is, what you faced when you were going through this, and, when you did start consuming the supplement that you guys have created, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that supplement and how it helped you? Please guide us through the journey.
Sure, absolutely. So I think currently what most people face is either ADD or ADHD. So what I faced was ADD, which is without the hyperactivity part of it.
Yeah.
So my mind would feel distracted in a lot of ways. Like I'd be going in 10 different directions. I would feel very impulsive. I'd feel very forgetful at the same time. And I remember the trigger point for me was that I was tying one shoelace and I got up and I was tying the other shoelace. Like I forgot to tie the other shoelace. And I realized that this is not normal at all.
Yeah.
And since I was a kid, my mom would tell me that you forget your key here and there, you forget your earphones here and there. These small things which always, kept bringing a doubt in my head that, am I just forgetful or is it something else? And one day a class teacher actually in my college told me that looks like you have ADD, because I just couldn't stop getting distracted and talk to someone sitting next to me on the bench.
Yes.
Reading something in my book which made no sense, like just stuff which was allowing me to be free with my thoughts, which I thought was a big asset for me because I was into screenwriting at the time. And but honestly, then I went to a doctor because the teacher triggered this, said you might have ADD, and that's when I realized there's something called ADD. And I was put on medications for it. I was facing a very early stage of attention deficit disorder. The medications weren't too strong, but upon reading more about what medications have been prescribed, they were mainly to do with temper control, with serotonin, with these other things which didn't make a lot of sense to me, because these were not the symptoms that I was facing. And I did them for, let's say, a week, 10, 20 days. And I noticed myself to be almost like a robot. I mean, I felt no creativity. I felt no joy in bigger things. I felt almost robbed of who I was. And the man I knew for 20 years didn't exist anymore. That's what I felt. And that's when I decided that I'm not going to go ahead with these medications, and I just stopped it instantly. I mean, without taking another appointment, whatever.
Yeah.
Decision I made that I'm not going to take these anymore. And about a year after that, or I think 6 months after that, Jay was telling me about this brain supplement. And because psychology was a very keen interest of mine, I told him there's absolute bullshit. It might be a marketing gimmick or a placebo or something. And then he was quite convinced about it. And I was also at a crossroads in my career where I didn't know what to do. And I said, see, so I've always believed that if you're not taking a risk, that's the biggest risk that you're taking. So I said, let's do it. Let's just see what this has to offer. And I had nothing to lose but time. So I gave this a shot. And honestly, just within, I think, 2 months or 3 months of consistent use, I just saw a massive decrease in my impulsivity levels. I was still feeling very creative. I was still feeling very motivated, focused, all of these things. So it took away the bad side of attention deficit disorder while keeping all the good parts of it alive in a way. So yeah, that is what happened. And from there, like I said, it's been no looking back. Then it was all about, okay, what next, what next, what next? How big can we make this thing? Other areas that we can improve on. And yeah, that's all that the conversation's been about since that day.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. And it's very personal, I do understand. But thank you for the honesty and sharing.
No, absolutely.
So both of you guys, right? Tell us about, because it's a new product. A lot of people don't know what's going into it, how you're, kind of making it, how it's used. Guide us to some of your, most important or the best-selling products, or something that, is very close to your heart. Guide us through that.
Sure. So we currently have two products. One is Boom, which is an energy supplement, which is the latest addition to the product range. And that has honestly come about because Jay and I both consume coffee on an everyday basis. And like we know, caffeine is great, but it does come with a few side effects. And the entire ball game was just reducing those side effects of caffeine and making it as potent as possible that one could experience. So the immediate answer was adding L-theanine to caffeine, which is something that balances out all the side effects of caffeine. So it reduces the crash, it reduces the jitters, the anxiety, all the side effects that come with caffeine, while giving you that massive kick of energy that you usually, once you're used to consuming any caffeine product, that's what you need. So our motto has always been, taking supplements from 10 to 100, not taking it from 0 to 10. So we know that we want to build up on caffeine, which is why we released this. And sales for Boom and Thrive have both been 50-50. So there's not really one bestseller. And Thrive, of course, I described the journey to you. And yeah, that's been our journey so far. And in the future as well, we're going to be building on supplements that are flawed in a sense, supplements that are in the form factor of, let's say, gummies, or that deal with incorrect dosages, that probably don't meet the function of what's required. Yeah, that's what we're looking at next. Sleep is a segment that we're looking at heavily next, because we feel that melatonin is abused quite a bit currently. And it's really not good in the dosages in which it's prescribed currently. And we feel there can be a healthier, more sustainable, better supplement in that space.
Wow, that's really interesting. And on the research part of it, on the production part of it, Jess, so you mentioned that when you thought of the idea and you kind of like conceived this whole idea about creating a supplement like this, and then when you both started working together, tell us about some of the because it's a new space, people don't understand it. I mean, imagine it took so much time to convince Sarva as well. So tell me the challenges that you guys faced when you were creating a brand like this, or when you were talking to people about making a product like this. Please guide us through that.
So of course, like you rightly said, it's a very new concept. A lot of people think it's a bit of a, the obvious, most immediate thing that people say is that I don't think it works. I've never heard of something like this. And this seems like, just some nonsense, some type of a scam. I mean, but only now that we're into sales, now that we've had over 6,000 customers, and now that people have actually experienced this and understood that nutrition is really linked to your mental health, is when we've gotten the conviction from, like people around. So of course, there were the obvious doubts, and I think that's purely because of the novelty. when you're entering a space that is, unexplored territory, I think there's bound to be certain questions and, uncertainty that comes your way purely because people are used to like just being, surrounded by things that they know, and they're not very comfortable with a new concept. And of course, we didn't have a lot of experts even that, we could consult at the time, which was another challenge because we had to do, kind of the research ourselves initially. And then, of course, vet these things with experts who would understand it. The few experts we met who would, kind of encourage this idea. So initially, it would be just a lot of, reading research papers on NCBI, PubMed, online, like literally just going through research papers, reading them extensively. And we both come from scientific backgrounds, non-biology backgrounds, but we, I think, kind of just had this interest since school. We didn't choose this path, but I feel we were very intrigued by how the human body works. So it was obviously very enjoyable, the process of doing the research ourselves. And we in our heads at least had the conviction from day one. And I think that's what matters. When you have relentless belief in something, I think it's a matter of time till people around you kind of buy into it, and rightly so. So yeah, those were the obvious challenges.
I agree, Jay. Every single thing that you said, I kind of agree with it because I feel like, when you can see something and you can see, it usually happens a lot to me. So I absolutely resonate. When you can see something and the potential that it has, but then you have to convince other people about the whole aspect, about the novelty of it, the execution process of it. It is exhausting, but I'm very glad that you both figured it out and you guys have created these fantastic products. I love the idea of the Boom Energy supplement that you guys have. I think it's really refreshing. It's really nice. If you can take away the jitters from the caffeine, and a lot of people have so many cases of feeling anxious after they have coffee, or they feel
Exactly.
huge crash after they create or they drink a lot of caffeinated products. So I think like if you can help out that, it's a really nice and novel idea of doing that. So thank you for both of you for the information. I want to ask you another thing that is very close to my heart, and I feel like everyone who's listening should also kind of benefit from it. You guys are these young entrepreneurs. Jay, I already know Jay is doing so many things together. You have this whole marketing thing going on also, and Sarva is extremely knowledgeable about so many things. He has such a strong debateful voice about so many things. I love that energy about both of you, individually. But tell me one thing: if you both individually had to give a single message to all the young people out there who are wanting to create brands of their own, or who are just passionate about something and they're a little like confused about how to start and what to do, what would one life lesson so far from your end, what would it be, and how do you think you can help?
So sure. So I think the biggest life lesson I think would be that read, learn, and just don't be afraid of taking a single risk in your life, because that's honestly, I mean, if you have your roti, kapda, makan sorted out, if you're okay in that aspect, just take a risk. There's nothing to lose, honestly.
Yes.
You'll learn more than you ever will just by doing a job, by doing something that you're not happy with. In case you want to start out as an entrepreneur, just do it. Just pick up the phone, make the calls, find someone with complementary abilities. I think that's the biggest strength that Jay and I have.
Yes.
I handle a different aspect of the business. He handles a different aspect of the business, and we're both extremely happy with what we handle. And there's also a keen curiosity from the other person's side to understand the other person's aspect of the business.
Yeah.
I am so happy to learn about the marketing that Jay brings, and Jay is very happy to learn about how logistics, delivery, inventory works. So it's just, so it's the right person at the right time in our case that we found. But quite honestly, just reading, learning, being a self-starter, and not being afraid of failing. The minute you start counting failure as something that's inbuilt into your life process, the minute you accept that failure will happen regardless of whatever you're doing in life, I think that's when your life changes, and that's when you stop being who you are and you start doing a lot more. So I think, yeah, that's the only piece of advice. Yeah.
True. Thank you, Sarva. Thank you. Jay, would you like to add your bits to this?
Of course. Is this only for people who are looking to become entrepreneurs, or generally like as something that I feel everyone should?
For everyone. This is for everyone.
For everyone. I mean, there's a couple of things to talk about someone who's, I think generally, even let me just put it this way, that I think it's very important. I feel very strongly about this one thing, that you only learn on the job. I think, bookish knowledge and education in India as it stands today, in India specifically, doesn't really add any value. I mean, domain specific things such as medicine, architecture, etc., of course, have value. But in most areas, I see that you're not really imbibing much. And I think practical exposure and actually, like just putting yourself in different situations in different type of relevant work environments teaches you much more in say a month than you would in a 2 3 year education course. So I really feel very strongly about that. I feel you have to learn on the job, and you will by default. And exposure is very important. Even if you consider yourself to be shy, reserved, whatever it may be, I think when you want to do something in life, it's very important to be out there, not necessarily as an extroverted person, but take those little efforts and try to learn from people around you. If not people around you, then just be thirsty for knowledge. And there's plenty of resources on the internet where you can just listen to all the great people in the world on YouTube, on Spotify. I mean, there's no shortage of that. So it's very
Yes.
important to expose yourself to ideas, to people, to knowledge. That's very important. And as a very generalized thing, I feel recently this is something that I've started realizing a lot, is that you often feel unhappy in life when your life is not aligned to the core values that you resonate with.
True.
So it's important to maybe sit down sometime and do a simple exercise, even as simple as just jotting down 3 value systems that resonate with you like very deeply.
Yes.
And then regularly keep auditing and looking at your life, each area of your life, and just check if your life is kind of aligned to your values. Because as long as it's not, as long as your actions are not aligned to what is inside you, you're always going to feel dissatisfied and like this unhappiness. And life won't be as good as it should be. As long as you're living aligned to values, I think everything's going to be great and rosy, and you're going to be happy, and that's going to translate into all types of success.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's what I feel.
That was beautiful. Sarva and Jay, as I said, I started with that. Like, you both are just so, like, I love this whole, gyani but very spiritual vibe going on. It's absolutely my vibe. I love this. So thank you to both of you for giving such nice, easy to do, and very, very practical advice. Thank you. I think like whoever is listening, and I personally, I resonated with both your, helpful tips, because I feel like it's very important to take risks as well, because very cliched, but dar ke aage jeet hai. It's really true. That is how it is.
Yeah.
After that, I also feel that what Jay very correctly said. Spend some time in finding out what really invokes that little bit of passion and fire within you, because then nothing feels mundane, nothing feels like a job after that. If it resonates with you, if it's aligned with the kind of passion that you have within yourself, if it lights your eyes up, if it makes that little thing go inside you, the bulb shine inside you, and if you follow that path to the end, I feel like every risk taken, every failure in the process, every milestone achieved, and every mistake made in the process is absolutely worth it.
Absolutely. You summarized it so well. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you to both of you guys. It's been my absolute pleasure to host you both today, to get so much insightful knowledge, information about your brand. I want to wish you all the very best with Food for Thought. I feel like it's a futuristic brand. You are in the right space at the right time, and with the kind of powerful research-backed products that you create in the future for the mind. I feel like there is an entire oasis that you guys can actually capture, and you can kind of venture into, and you'll find success over there. So my good wishes and my good vibes to both of you for everything coming forward, and I have absolutely enjoyed this conversation so much. Thank you for being a part
Thank you
of
so much, Karishma. Likewise, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.